What ended your friendship with your best friend? He tried to get me fired from a job I hired him at as his boss. I gave one of my best friends a job at my convenience store when he was down on his luck. He worked in his dad's shop previously for like $6.50 an hour and his dad was toxic, so he quit and came to work for me till Jay got a better job. The inferiority complex kicked in and he started talking down to me and talking about how I was spoiled and a daddy's boy. My dad gave me the shop. I paid him the best money he ever made and he would routinely go off on me for perceived managerial issues or start stupid arguments with customers, like not selling kids toy guns because they would be at risk and not selling cigarettes or beer to pregnant women, which I understand is a personal choice, but as a business I can't just refuse to sell people sh they're allowed to buy legally. Covered hit and he became a huge anti-masker, and I finally fired him after a huge blowout about me trying to establish a mask policy. He's a Marine now and got married to a girl he knew for 2 weeks. We still talk, but I've never trusted him since. It sucks because I think he was just like me, but from a worse situation. If I was in his shoes maybe I would be way worse. I got tired of always being the one to put forth any effort, fly across the world to meet up, attend family gatherings, reach out, be patient, make sacrifice. It was good times when we were together, so it was worth it for a while, but when she moved close and still never bothered to make an effort, I was over it. Wish her nothing but the best. Took an international vacation where we realized we hated damn near everything each other did the whole time. Realized year of seeing each other 1 to 2 times a month made us hardly know each other. She didn't invite me to her birthday party. It was my first time back from college and I would have been able to go. She made a whole Facebook event page and invited everybody but me. I found out through mutual friends. The kicker was no one showed up and she called me crying that this other girl didn't show up. We planned a trip to another country, which she happened to have an online relationship with a guy who also lived there. The moment we arrived off the plane and she found her BF. That was the last I saw of her until the end of the trip, where we met at the airport. Very awkward experience. She also wanted him to join us in the hotel room and was upset when I refused to allow him in. Once we got back home from the trip I never heard from her again. After 14 years of friendship we get an apartment and suddenly he loses his job as a personal trainer because of a dress code violation. He wore a hoodie to work, allegedly, and then 2 to 3 months of him not working. Then after he agreed to pay me back eventually, all he ever gave me was $400 from his mom. I paid over $14,000 for the year, so I paid the full year lease and he stayed 8 months total. I never talked to him again also, because I found a receipt where he was trying to make a copy of my car keys make and model. My husband at the time had to step away from his job because he was dealing with pretty severe mental health issues. We had a young child and I was a stay-at-home mom. And it was really devastating not only financially but socially as a lot of our social life revolved around his job and work friends. I was really good friends with a coworker's wife. The coworker moved into my husband's higher up position when my husband had to resign. We had to sell our home since we couldn't make the mortgage payment anymore. The friend came to help me pack and while doing so told me that they always knew this would happen because the Lord had revealed it to the husband in a dream several years earlier. They had basically been waiting around for my husband to fail so that coworker could succeed and fulfill the Lord's prophecy. Yeah, no, said goodbye to her, moved out of state, and never looked back. I won't tolerate people using religion to be idiots. Time. We grew up, had kids, and moved apart. I've known this guy since I was 6 or 7, which has now been 40+ years. He was my best friend, and I'd still consider him as such. We were both best men at each other's weddings, and I was the first non-family member invited to the hospital to hold his children after they were born. Time just sneaks up on you. It's the small things to start with, and eventually, the relationship is still there, but there's no significant time or contact spent on either side. We still text/call each other about 1 to 2 times a year about serious matters, family/jobs, but the regular screwing around time we used to have is done and gone. I know if either of us called the other and said, hey, I need help as soon as possible, we'd both still drop whatever we were doing to help the other. But what I really miss is the small goofy interactions we used to have. just made a post about this, but she uses me as a therapist. But when I try to vent to her, she gives me a few cliche words of support before turning the conversation back to her. It's gotten to the point where we don't talk unless she has a bad day and needs someone to talk to. She'll take days or even a week to respond to a funny meme, but then immediately start dumping on me about things going on her life. I'll invite her out to have fun, and within a few hours, I'm being her life coach. Also, we just started to grow apart. She's turned into her parents, and her parents are the typical snobby suburban people that are extremely judgmental. He leaked personal files that were information about the people we take in. He was my coworker at a funeral home and tried to blame it on me. Those files included autopsies, pictures of the actual body, legal information, and so on. He would also not follow the requests given by family members, religious practices such as thoroughly cleaning the body before burial etc. Just a horrible person overall, and I truly believe that he leaked those things for personal fetishes, because he had serious problems and we were suspecting him already. Every single time that I would tell her I was interested in / talking to a guy, she would try to get with him. She was never successful, but it hurt that she kept trying. I confronted her about this in a very nice and civil way and explained to her how I felt about this. She apologized profusely and promised it would never happen again, and then it happened again. I just immediately cut her off after that. No explanation or words needed. She knows what she did. Haven't spoken a word to her since. I was long-term single and lonely. He was married, and suddenly all he could talk about was how much fun he was having by cheating on his wife. After a while of getting more and more depressed by being around him, I had thoughts like, how can I claim to respect women if I'm hanging out with him? How can I claim to respect relationships and marriage if I'm hanging out with him? I'd honestly rather have nobody to hang out with than someone who only talks about cheating on his wife. I ghosted him as much as is possible. When you work at the same office, I've not seen any sign of him in 15 years and I'll be happy to never see him again. She found me a place to stay for free with one of her friends during my divorce. I was insanely depressed, and I was a horrible roommate. She found me a great opportunity to restart my life, and I just pissed all of her friends off. I don't blame her. I was a total wreck during those months. Just miss that friend I had for 20 years. We were friends since primary school, and in primary she had a very typical childlike personality, as you'd expect a child to have, of course. The thing is, as we got older, she never lost this personality. She still behaved like a child in the sense that she was over the top positive about every little thing that happened. I don't think that's a bad thing. She saw the world through rose-colored glasses and added her own glitter to it. There are reasons for her being like that. Dysfunctional family life, abusive father. She was the middle child who felt as though she had to keep the peace amongst everyone, so she developed this personality to compensate for the negativity of her home life. But for me, I didn't feel like she and I were compatible anymore as friends, as I often felt like I had to match her energy when I was around her. This slowly got more and more difficult, especially in my late teens as I went through a severe period of depression. So being her friend overall was exhausting. Eventually we just faded out of each other's lives. She's the one friend I feel guilty about drifting apart from, because unlike my other friends, she did absolutely nothing wrong. She's someone who's truly wholesome in spite of everything she grew up with. We're in our 20s now. Our mums are still close. Last I heard, she's met a wonderful guy whom she's living with. She doesn't want to get married, and I don't blame her, but he treats her right, which is all that matters, and I couldn't be happier for her.